You're sitting across from your manager. Maybe it's a one-on-one. Maybe they pulled you into a conference room with no warning. They smile. They ask how you're doing. And then they say something like, "I just want to make sure you're okay. This is a safe space. You can be honest with me." And something in you relaxes. Because you've been carrying something. A frustration, a concern, a feeling that things haven't been fair. So you talk, you open up, you tell them what's actually been going on. And the whole time they are nodding. They look understanding. They look like they care. But then the meeting ends. And as you're walking back to your desk, something feels different. You can't name it exactly. You just feel heavier, like you said too much. Like the room shifted at some point and you didn't catch it in time. That feeling is not anxiety. That feeling is not you being paranoid. That feeling is your instincts telling you something your mind hasn't processed yet. And I want to talk about exactly what happened in that room. A lot of people have had that meeting. Not once, multiple times. They walked in with a problem and walked out somehow feeling like the problem was them. They tried to be honest with someone who had power over them. And what they got back wasn't support. It was a quiet redirection, a subtle shift of weight. And they couldn't explain it to anyone because on the surface, nothing bad happened. The manager was polite. The conversation seemed fine. But something changed after that. Opportunities got quieter. Feedback got more formal. The energy in the room when they walked in became slightly different. And they spent weeks wondering if they imagined the whole thing. They didn't imagine it. This channel exists to pull back the curtain on how workplaces actually function. Not how HR describes them. Not how the leadership handbook presents them. But what is genuinely happening underneath the surface of those polished conversations and open-door policies. I cover the hidden rules, the unspoken dynamics, and the patterns that most people only recognize in hindsight when it's already too late. If that's something you want to understand before it costs you, stick around. And if this video gets to someone before their next one-on-one meeting, share it. Now let's get into what you actually think is happening versus what is actually happening. When your manager invites you to a check-in and frames it as a safe space, your brain hears relationship. It hears trust. It hears someone who is on your side and wants to understand what you're going through. That's the natural human read of the situation. We are wired to respond to warmth with openness. When someone leans in and says, "You can be honest with me," something in us wants to take that offer. Because most of us are walking around the office carrying things we never get to say. So when a door opens, we walk through it. But here is what that meeting actually is at the same time. It is also an evaluation. It is also documentation. It is also a moment where your manager, consciously or not, is building a picture of you, how you think about problems, whether you take ownership, how you talk about your colleagues, whether you seem stable or difficult, whether you're someone they want to invest in or someone they need to manage around. Both things are true at once. The warmth can be genuine and the assessment can also be happening. One does not cancel out the other. And the mistake most people make is thinking they are in a conversation when they are actually in an interview they didn't know they signed up for. Here is the specific pattern you need to be able to recognize. It almost always starts the same way. An open, casual question. Something like, "How are things going for you lately?" Or, "I've noticed you seem a little stressed." "Is everything all right?" You answer honestly. You bring up the workload, the unclear expectations, the colleague who dropped the ball, the process that doesn't make sense. And for a moment, it feels good to say it. The manager is still nodding. They still seem understanding. And then, slowly, the tone changes. The questions get a little more specific. What do you think you could do differently? Or have you tried approaching it from a different angle? Or what's your plan for managing that? And suddenly, without any announcement, you are no longer the person who raised a concern. You are the person who is being asked to solve it. The problem that existed in the system or on the team is now sitting on your shoulders. That is the shift. That is the pivot. That is the moment where the frame of the conversation quietly changed and you didn't feel it happen because the tone never got harsh. The manager never accused you of anything. They just asked questions. But the weight moved. and you're the one carrying it now. Understanding that pattern matters because it isn't always intentional. This is important. Most managers are not sitting in their offices plotting against their employees. Most of them are reasonable people. But they are operating inside a system that has specific priorities. That system cares about performance metrics. It cares about risk management. It cares about documentation that protects the organization. And when you walk into that room and start expressing frustration or vulnerability, you are introducing data into that system. Your feelings are information. Your complaints are signals. Your honesty about what isn't working is a variable that now has to be accounted for. The manager's job, whether they think of it this way or not, is to process that variable in a way that serves the organization's interests. And sometimes that means finding a way to make you responsible for the problem you just described. Here is what most employees never see. After that meeting, notes are often taken. Maybe not immediately, maybe later that day. But patterns get recorded. Over time, small comments build into narratives, and narratives become the foundation of performance conversations. The time you said you were overwhelmed becomes part of a pattern of you struggling to manage your workload. The time you raised a concern about a colleague becomes evidence that you have difficulty working with others. Nothing is ever one incident. It's always a mosaic, and by the time you see the mosaic, it's already been interpreted for you. That weight you felt walking back to your desk after that meeting, that wasn't overthinking. That was your gut recognizing that something had transferred. Your instincts processed the data before your conscious mind did, and you weren't wrong. You were just a few steps behind. So here are the signs that you are in one of these conversations. Your concerns get redirected back to you as things you need to fix. You leave the meeting with more responsibility than when you walked in. Your honesty is met with questions about your approach rather than acknowledgement of the problem. The language starts shifting toward words like ownership, alignment, and accountability, but only in your direction. And the manager never actually commits to solving the thing you raised. They affirm that they hear you, and then the conversation moves on. Watch for these, not to become paranoid, but to become aware. The core mindset shift that changes everything is this: the workplace is a system, not a community, not a family, not a place that exists to understand you or support your growth out of genuine care. It is a transaction. You provide labor and output. They provide compensation and opportunity. When you remember that, you stop expecting the system to behave like a relationship. And when you stop expecting that, you stop being caught off guard when it doesn't. You are not there to be fully known. You are there to perform and to protect yourself while you do it. That is not cynicism. That is clarity. And clarity is the only real protection you have. So practically, here is how you operate differently. When something is genuinely wrong, you don't express it as a feeling. You frame it as a strategic question. Instead of "I am overwhelmed," you say, "I want to make sure I am prioritizing correctly. Can we align on what matters most right now?" You are saying less and observing more. You are noticing how your manager responds to information. You are paying attention to what gets documented and what disappears. You are not performing fake happiness, but you are being deliberate about what you hand over and when. Say less than you think you need to. Ask more than you think you should. And document your own side of every important conversation. The most dangerous moment at work is when you genuinely believe you are in a completely safe space, because that belief is the thing that opens you up right before the shift happens. Awareness is not armor that makes you hard. It is the thing that keeps you from getting caught flat-footed in a room that felt warm until it didn't. Have you ever walked out of a one-on-one feeling like something changed, but you couldn't figure out what? Leave that in the comments. Because I can promise you, you're not the only one. Share this with someone you know who has a big meeting coming up. It might be the thing they needed to hear before they walk in. Stay sharp, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.